Welcome to the In Love with PMDD podcast. I am your host, Dr. Rose, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist, and I help you stop the monthly PMDD breakups. PMDD is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. It is in approximately 1 in 5 women, and it makes you want to break up with your partner approximately 1 to 2 weeks before your period every single month. So as someone who has suffered with PMDD for over 18 years, I dedicated my doctorate practice to helping partners navigate those monthly PMDD breakups with everything from attachment styles, triggers, sensitivity to noise, sensitivity to touch, all of the things that you really struggle with when you're in PMDD. And I also dedicated my dissertation to a phenomenological study of the relationship experiences of partners of individuals who suffer with premenstrual dysphoric disorder. So I'm not just here to help the sufferer, the one who is suffering with PMDD. I am here for the partners as well. So if you need those private sessions, make sure you go to inlovewithpmdd.com and get those tools. So let's get into this week's PMDD trauma transformational tools that is going to help you stop the monthly breakups and stop the suffering and stress in your PMDD relationship. Let's get into it. Today, we are going to be talking about how my PMDD partner broke up with me. This has been something that I personally have been going through for the last couple of weeks, week and a half. He left me. And when I say left me, I don't mean in a metaphorical way. I mean, he physically left the building, left the home. And so much has been going on. And I wanted to be really open, vulnerable, real and raw in this episode because I want you to know that I have the tools for PMDD relationships, but things happen and it doesn't always look pretty. And right now I'm in one of those spaces because my PMDD partner left me. And I go back to the beginning. It's almost like waking up in a dream. I'm like, how did I get here? I don't know if you've ever been that way in your relationship where you're like, how did I get to this point? We were fine just a week ago. And now we're not. And that is where I am at right now, where everything just went downhill in a very fast way. And I think a lot of it had to do with me trying to make everything perfect and make everything look aesthetically the way that I thought my PMDD partner was supposed to receive it. And so let me do a little bit of background, and I'll probably have to give another episode on what's been going on. But 2 months ago, my PMDD partner got diagnosed with something called diverticulitis. And when he got diagnosed with that, they do a lot of MRIs. They do a lot of scans to make sure everything is good with your gut, because it's basically a disease that attacks the gut. And it means that you're not digesting your food properly. And then it creates this blockage in certain parts of your body. So you have these symptoms because of this. And so when we're talking about the factor of symptoms, like we've talked about over the months or I think I've done this more than a year. So over the years that my partner has PTSD, he has anxiety, he has depression, he has all of these things. And it is a matter of us navigating when I go into PMDD and I'm navigating, my own childhood trauma and my own PMDD and things like that. And so that's been a struggle, but I feel like as the years have gone on, we're adding on things to it. So this particular time, my partner got diagnosed with diverticulitis. So you can go ahead and research that if you know how to spell it, because I didn't. I had to Google it, and then Google was like, that's not how you spell it. And I was like, who are you to judge me? But yeah, who knows how to spell diverticulitis? But that's what he got diagnosed with. And if you remember in earlier episodes, I was saying he's going through this slump, he's going through this depression. And then when he got diagnosed with diverticulitis, he was like, oh, that's the reason why I've been going through this slump. And then he kind of said, oh, so you were mad at me all these times for not showing up at my best and going through this depression, but I've had a disease this whole time. And I'm like, okay, so I never said you didn't have anything going on, but like we have to be mindful when our partner and when we have disorders, diseases, all the things, that does not give you permission to mistreat your partner. So saying that you're struggling with your disorder doesn't mean you have the right to disrespect your PMDD partner. And you would think that I would be talking about my PMDD partner, but I'm actually talking about myself, because a lot of times that's what's happened when I've gotten into PMDD is I felt this overwhelming sense of emotions, and I just felt like I couldn't contain it, and I had to say something about it. And I treated my partner how I would never treat him when I wasn't in PMDD. So I'm not talking about my partner, I'm talking about me. Where when I have something going on, and I notice with me, specifically with this diagnosis, stress doesn't serve me well. I don't do well under stress. Like 10 out of 10 do not recommend. That's probably why I love my morning routine, because it de-stresses me, because that's when I'm most operable. Like I can operate my best when I don't have a lot of stress going on. And when I do, it's just like I don't recognize that person. I'm just like, who are you? So my partner got diagnosed with that. And so because of that, he had to give a lot of MRIs, scans and everything. And when he had the scans, they not diagnosed him. He had a tumor. I'm not going to say where the tumor is to protect his privacy, because I am putting his business out there pretty much, because I told him, but I got his permission. I'm like, listen, these are my people. I need to tell them what's going on with me, because it's really affecting me. But I'm not going to say where the tumor is. I'm just going to say the tumor is not in a place where you would want it to be ever in life. Like when I heard about where his tumor was, I was like, shut the front door, because that's no. So he had a tumor there, and they said they had to immediately remove it so that it doesn't spread. And so he went to get the surgery. As you know, we're living apart. He lives in San Diego, California. I live in San Jose, California, which is about, it's an hour and a half flight, but in driving, it's like 6 or 7 hours. And we're doing that because of work situations where his career is there, my career is here, but it's very short term. Basically, if we're accepting the promotions that we have with work, we need to live in the areas that we're living in order to sustain the contract that we're under, if that makes any sense. So the option of moving closer, not a thing, because we're focused on retirement, class of 2026, which is 3 years from now. So that is like our moral compass when we're thinking about living apart. We have so many goals that are tied to that date that we're just kind of like, okay, we'll do whatever we need to do during that time, because it's going to be worth it in the end. If we give up right now, we're going to have less than we would have if we just stick it out. So we've been together for years. We know each other. That's not the problem. So after he got diagnosed, there was this, I don't know, he was already going through a slump. Remember I told you, like in previous episodes, he was going through depression and seasonal depression, but then the season changed. And it's been this long, outstanding, I would say over a year. And he's still been in this place. And so I was like, okay, so now you have the diverticulitis. That's a reason for it. Now you have the tumor. That's another reason for it. But his response to him having the tumor was immediately, when we would go through something, I have cancer, or I went through cancer, or I have a cancer scare, or he was throwing away the C word. And I'm like, hey, like, let's not do that, because one thing you don't know, or you may not know, is when PMDD comes, or I have PMDD, whenever we have conflict, that's one of my rules. I don't throw PMDD in the mix and say, I've got PMDD, so this is why I'm acting like this. Like, I don't use PMDD as an excuse because normally it's something that I'm actually going through, and then PMDD is exasperating it. It's just like uncovering it. So whenever I talk to my partner, I'm normally talking about the root of the issue versus I have PMDD and this is why I'm acting like this. So he was saying that, I got cancer and, blah, blah. And I was like, you don't have cancer, you have a tumor. The tumor is going to get removed. So what I did was I took off work to fly down. I surprised him by flying down for his surgery because he was like, I'm going to have my coworkers take me to get it done and I'll be fine. And then I'll come home afterwards. And I was like, no, like I'm going to be there to check you in, to do all the things, to see the doctor, to listen to the doctor, which I did. And so I went down, and I ended, it was a trek. So he lives about an hour from the airport, and he had to be in surgery at 6 o'clock in the morning because they had to prep him. And then his surgery didn't start till 8:30. Meanwhile, I had to be back at work the next day. So my flight was at 10:55. He was like, how are we going to get you to the airport? Like you shouldn't have surprised me here because now I can't even drive you to the airport. He's on a military base because he's in the Marine Corps. And they don't accept Ubers on post. So I was like, oh my gosh. Like, so he was stressing about it the whole day before. And I was like, you know what? I see where the hospital is. I see where the hospital is. I'm going to check you in. I'm going to talk to the nurse. I'm going to make sure I'm staying with you until you go back for surgery because his coworker / best friend or whatever was going to pick him up and take him home. And then he was going to catch the flight the next day. But because it was a 6-hour surgery, but I wanted to be there in the beginning because I know it's like surgery, even if you think that it's not going to be that bad, like you bring your partner because it's not all it's cracked up to be. So I stayed with him until he went backwards, and I had my little carry-on suitcase with me. I was riding Spirit Airlines. Enough said. If you're in America or even abroad, you know what Spirit Airlines is. You know that like I was going on a wish and a prayer. Like that's why I don't take bags on that airline. It's like I love it because it's cheap, it's quick. Like if you have a last minute urge to go somewhere, like hop on Spirit. The flight was literally like $39. I bought the flight, but then they said something. So I was like, oh my gosh, just a $39. I was telling my coworkers, there's a $39 flight to San Diego. And they're like, what? And then we get to the end and it's like, okay, so do you want to buy your seat? And I'm like, that wasn't including the seat. Like what kind of flight doesn't include the seat? So I was like, yeah, I would actually like to buckle up and sit down. And then it was like over $100. So I was like, what the heck was that? But anyway, I got on the plane. I surprised him. If you're following me on Instagram, you know the story, but if you're not, I'll give you a little bit of background. And that is, we were not in a good place. We were just feeling like disconnected. And I think a lot of it is the stress of him realizing that he had that tumor. He knew that surgery was going on. And so I decided I'm gonna take off work. I'm gonna fly in and surprise him. And I didn't tell him because he was in the field with work that week. So with that week, he was in the field. And when I say in the field, I mean literally in nature where he had no connectivity. And so I was like, I'm gonna just surprise him so that when he comes out of the field, I'm already here. And I ended up getting a hotel because he got out of the field at like 8 o'clock at night. And my plane was supposed to land at 1. My plan was to go to the spa, do some shopping, get some food, be completely relaxed, and then see my partner. Well, when the time went by and that my flight got delayed, literally delayed. And then I didn't end up getting there till like 6 o'clock. So then there was no waiting for him to, get off of work and staying with him because I didn't know how long he was going to be. So I got a hotel close to the airport. I ended up having dinner. And then when he called me just to talk about the day, I let him say everything that was going on for the day. And then I said, hey, by the way, I'm here. And he was like, what do you mean you're here? I'm like, I'm here in San Diego. And he was like, oh my gosh, I need to come get you. But it turns out where he lives and where I was by the airport was an hour away. So I was like, no, just don't worry about it. I said, don't worry about it. Get some rest. I know you just came out of the field, because he was in the field for like a week. And with the Marines, it's like camping, but like not glamping. It was like hardcore. You take this backpack, it's called a rucksack, and you hike out however many miles. I believe they did like 14, 15. And then you set up camp in this rural area and you do drills and you live out there and you eat out of a small little can of whatever the heck that is. Like, it's horrible. But he was living like that for 5 days or 5 to 7 days. And so I was like, no, go home. Like, because the first thing you want to do is shower. Like, you don't want to be around society because you smell like crap on a stick. I don't curse on here, but you know what I mean. So I said, go ahead and rest. And he ended up resting that night. And then we saw each other the next day. And I had to check out by, what did I check out by? I think it's like noon, because I have a timeshare with Hilton. Shout out to Hilton. And I checked out, but I was like, hey, he was like, I'm going to come get you in the morning. So then I text him when he's like on his way. I'm like, hey, I'm already packed. Do you want to like come up, or do you want to like me to meet you downstairs? And he's like, oh no, I want to come up. And so if you know, it happened. We connected. It was amazing. The intimacy, whenever we're apart, the intimacy when we first see each other is very important. It's like we need to connect, and not just connect with words, but physically. Like, it's just, if you're not around your partner all the time, it's really good to have that like baseline. There's so many chemicals, and I can go into that in another episode, but there's so many chemicals that are released during being intimate with your partner, that if you have to talk about anything, deal with anything, it's best that you do it with that being your foundation. So he had come upstairs. We connected amazingly. And then after that, we left. We had a baby shower to go to for a mutual friend of ours that lives also in San Diego. We had an amazing time at their pool party and giving her gifts and just showering her for her new baby. And then I, dropped him off at surgery, and then I went back to work, and then he was coming for the next day, and he was supposed to be here for 2 weeks. But getting back to the start of this episode, when he left me, I had this thing in my mind of like, he doesn't need to come home. He doesn't need to come home. There's been this uneasiness that has happened every single time that he's come home, where he has this ideation. It's not a word. My client corrected me earlier today. He has this idea of what the home is supposed to look like. Right. And this has been a thing since we met. So he has a Muslim background, right, where a lot of that is male dominated, masculine energy. This is the way the house works. I am a free spirit. I'm practically like, if you want to go in the realms of that, I am like a bird that you have to like wrap something around their neck and like hold them down. Like I am a free spirit. And I think sometimes when you grow up in those strict environments with religion, you feel the need to like, I want to do the exact opposite of that, except for my partner still believes in the core values, which I do too. And so he kind of like wants the blend of the middle. So he wants like the white picket fence, but he still wants to be able to like rage with me at like EDM, like the electric dance music concerts that I love to go to. Dance music is my thing. That is what I go to raves, and not raves like with any music, like literally the dance music, because it's all good vibes. Coachella, like think Coachella. That's me. And so he loves that part. So he's like a hybrid. So every time he comes home, it's always this like struggle of him wanting to see the home look like that white picket fence, even though he's not here to enforce any of that, but that's what feels home to him, because that's what he grew up in. And I noticed a lot of times we we go away from our childhood. We say, I don't want to go back home, but then we get with someone and we try to recreate that same scenario again. And it's like, it doesn't always work like that, but that's how it works with my PMDD partner. And I had to realize that by going through the tools and really digging deep. And so what is his dissatisfaction when he comes home? So one of the things is when he comes home, we're not a community. Okay, let me tell you what that looks like. Me and our daughter she's 13. We have lived together in 1 bedrooms and 4 bedrooms where we have our own bedrooms on different sides of the house, and like hotel rooms and, mansions and condos on the beaches of Waikiki and Barcelona. Like, we've lived in so many different living spaces, but we have our own space. We have the desire to have our own space because we've developed our own routines, and that's what works for us. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter how small or big our place is. We have our own routines and we respect each other's space. Like, if we know that, like, she knows I have a morning routine, I know that she has a morning routine as well. And we don't disturb each other. Like, even though I'm the mom, yes, I'm the mom. There's things that need to be done. There's whatever, but I'm very open in a sense of, how you feel your best in the morning. I'm going to give you the opportunity to do your morning routine. And then say if my daughter wakes up at like 7:00 in the morning, I'm not going to come straight in at 7 and like, this is the assignments you need to do for the day. This is the homework. This is the chores. I'm going to give her the opportunity. I'll reach her like 8:30. And we'll connect because I'm giving her that opportunity to self-soothe herself because I know the benefit that it has for me. And it took me years to even believe that I deserve to have a morning routine and to even figure out what that looks like. And I don't want her to have to go through that same process as a young adult, like growing up, in her, late teens and 20s. And like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do in the morning other than what my mom tells me. Like, I'm like, no, you already know because I'm giving you the space and opportunity to do it within the home. So we get up in the morning, pretty much in the first 90 minutes are like a free for all. Like, she does what she needs to do for her. I do what I need to do for me. And then we connect. With my PMDD partner, he's used to growing up in an environment where as soon as you wake up, you're looking for the next person and you're wanting to talk and connect and just lay about, meaning even if you're going to do a morning routine, it wouldn't be until after you're finished connecting with the people that are within the home. And for me, if once I connect with you, I kind of get settled, I'm probably not going to do my morning routine. So I kind of like avoid it. I use my avoidant attachment, I'm pretty sure. And I don't want to connect and feel really like relaxed with you because then I won't feel like getting up and doing my morning routine. I'd rather be relaxed with you when I've already known that I've accomplished everything that I needed to do for the day. And that has been something that he's always had an issue with because when he goes to connect, no one in the house other than our dog Leo is ready to connect. Like, Leo is the one that whenever you need attention, he's like, I got you. It's the dog. He's a Shih Tzu Maltese mix, adorable, cute, serves his purpose. So in my mind, no one's void of love. Everyone has love. Like, if you're not getting it from a human, Leo is there. So he came home and like, it was the same thing. Like, I tried to forego my morning routine sometimes, but I'm not my best when I haven't got my morning routine. So I remember one time back at band camp, I was like, oh, I'm going to like not do my morning routine in order to soothe him. And I was horrible. My mood was horrible. My vibe was off. So when he did get a chance to connect with me, it was not what he wanted. He wanted me after my morning routine without my morning routine. And I'm like, well, that's not a thing. And so when he came home, I took off 2 weeks of work. Can you imagine? I took off 2 weeks of work because he was in recovery from his surgery. They removed the mass of the tumor, and hopefully the process was to remove it so that there was no tumor left. There was no cancer in his body left, and that way it wouldn't spread. And so I had to take off work for that because I didn't know how he was going to feel. I made sure he had all of the supplements he needed, his medicines that he was supposed to take, the foods that he was supposed to eat, which was very minimal because he couldn't really handle much food. It was more like smoothies. And then I was in my follicular phase, so everything was going great. And then I got into PMDD, and if you join the PMDD Partners Breakup Proof Academy, you're going to get the whole story on this, but I'm going to give you like a little snippet because that session in the academy was like 2 hours long. Because I was just so into it and connecting with our community. Like when I go live, we talk back and forth about whatever's going on. And so it was such an interactive like moment of me saying, hey, this is, because it was literally the day after everything happened. So I was like, okay, I'm still showing up for the academy. Like these are my people that really will understand what I'm going through. And just, they found a way to encourage me when I didn't have the strength to encourage myself because I had gone through so many arguments, so much trauma in everything that was going on. And I didn't have it within me. And they were literally like, Rose, you got this. Remember, this is your person. And I think that's the value in it because so many times we're in these communities, and as soon as we tell them anything that our PMDD partner has done, their first instinct is to tell you to break up with your PMDD partner and tell you that you deserve better and you shouldn't be with someone like that. And that's a red flag for me. And you should just be single. And the Breakup Proof Academy is the opposite of that because we are in a community that is supporting you staying with your PMDD partner, not breaking up, because we're realizing that a lot of the issues that you're having is not because you're not supposed to be together. It's because you're navigating PMDD, and PMDD doesn't want you to be together. So you just have to get through that moment of going through that moment with your partner in PMDD and using the tools. And that's what they help me do. And that's what they allow me to do. So if you're in the Breakup Proof Academy, thank you. I love you. I needed that. It is a very supportive community. I suggest you join. We're not in a place of just talking about how horrible our relationships can be in PMDD. We're really giving each other the encouragement, the empowerment, the tools to use to get yourself out of that place of feeling really hopeless and feeling that distress. And this is for you and your PMDD partner. So the Breakup Academy is not, it's for the person that has PMDD and the person that doesn't have PMDD, because I know there's a lot of confusion about, oh, you're saying PMDD partners. No, I'm talking, if you are in a relationship and you're navigating PMDD, you're a PMDD partner. Because I don't want to only support the one that has PMDD. I am also supporting the partner who doesn't have PMDD, but you're technically navigating it because it's part of your intimate relationship. So I want to make that very clear that it is for the both of you, and the membership that you get is for the both of you. I'm not asking you to pay one price and your partner pay one price. It's $99 a month. Right now it is on a half scholarship where your first month is only $49, but you're getting weekly sessions from me. And this value is so impactful for your PMDD relationship, because I know just knowing that you have a time of the week to kind of log in and view things that is going to help your PMDD relationship really will help you, because I know that you're going through things on a daily basis with your PMDD partner, because I go through things on a daily basis with my PMDD partner. So having these weekly sessions gives me kind of that moral compass of like, okay, I'm having this going on, but I have a session, in the Breakup Proof Academy where we're going to talk about this. Like, you need to be able to have something to look forward to. So join that academy while it is available. It is only available for the first 20. I said 10 before, but now I'm saying 20 PMDD partners where you can be able to get access and join and have a community of people in a relationship with PMDD that are dealing with the same things as you're dealing with. So back to what was going on with how my PMDD partner left me. He was just coming out of surgery, going through a lot of things. When I first, when he first came home, there's always this expectation of what walking into the home is supposed to look like. And me and my daughter are kind of like, we don't have a greeting of the day. We're not rude, but it's not like someone walks through the door and we're like, hey, oh my gosh. And so we're kind of like, hey, how are you? Like it's less, excitement. And so I think in my partner's mind, he thinks that when he comes home, that it's supposed to be everyone stops what they're doing and they run to his feet. Guess who does that? Leo, our dog. I'm like, is that not enough? But he wants that reaction and he deserves it. I get it. But we're not those people. Instinctive, like we don't do it for each other. So it's really hard when he comes home to kind of recreate that scenario. And not because we don't love him and we don't like him. It's just not, that's not what we normally do. So over the course of the few days, um, he got frustrated with not feeling at home. That was ultimately what happened is he didn't feel at home. We got in an argument over something really petty. And then he ended up taking me out to a lunch where I thought we were going to talk about the issue that we had. And instead of that, he was like, yeah, this is just not working for me. My mental health is suffering from being in this. So I'm going to need to go. So eventually he got to the point where he was talking about leaving me. And so the next day I was like, okay, well, that evening I was like, okay, well, if this is so bad for you, like you can leave because I don't want to keep you in a place where you're suffering. That's a core value of mine. If you're suffering in anything that's affiliated with me, I can't logically have you in that place. And so I told him he could go ahead and go. And then the next morning he was packing his things. I felt completely different. I thought we were going to start a fresh day. And when I went downstairs, all of the pictures were removed from the walls. He was packing up all of his things. And he was like, can you take me to the U-Haul place, which is a pickup place where you can pick up like a truck to take a lot of your things. And he had taken all of his clothes out of the closet, all of his things. And I was like, sure, okay. I said, let me walk Leo. And I did. And I was just like, wow, this is it. And so after that happened, I was in this place of, I took him to the U-Haul. Then he decided, oh no, I don't want to leave. Like, but he had already taken everything out. And so I was like, I can't deal with this back and forth. Cause I was like on day like 3 or 4 PMDD. And I was like, I can't deal with the back and forth. Like you said, you're going to leave. Let's just go ahead and leave. And when we left, it was the most horrible day because everything that he had taken out of the house, it was like half of him was gone. So imagine if you're living with your partner and then you wake up the next day and everything that you had previously seen that was your partner's is gone. I was deep in that. I literally saw what it was like to break up with your PMDD partner because I know there's so many times we glamorize it like I broke up with my PMDD partner or whatever, but no one talks about what it feels like afterwards. And my next episode is going to be on that, but I felt like someone had taken a piece of my heart, my soul. I felt broken. I couldn't stop crying. I was in uncontrollable depression. I couldn't get out of bed. I felt like there was like a weighted blanket on me. And I didn't know what to do about it. And I remember never feeling so low, where it's like I had a lot of things to do, but I was just laying in bed and I couldn't move. And I was crying, uncontrollably crying. I had client sessions where I paused, had the session, and then cried right after, and then had another session after that. I was literally crying in between sessions because I was in such a place. Number one, I'm not going to cancel on my clients because I know how much they may need me in that moment. So I'm not in a place of like, if you're my private client and I cancel on a session with you, like call 911 because I've even gone as far as to say, hey, I just need to have an audio session with you. And like one of my clients is like, no, three of my clients is actually at a point where we're having a lot of our sessions, instead of it being audio, instead of it being video, like video sessions where you're just sitting down, they just put me, because it's a Zoom call, like for our session. So they just put me in their headphones and then they go off and do other things. Some of them take a walk, some of them handle chores, but it's a way of getting in these tools and being able to accomplish something at the same time. And I've been able to do so at the same time. So I found it very helpful to not feel like, when you're going through these sessions, you have to just sit down and stare at a screen. Sometimes you need to move around. I get the best clarity when I'm moving, whether I'm organizing something or I'm going on a walk. So just having the ability of being in that place of movement while you're on a session with me, it is possible. So if that's what's been holding you up with applying for, going towards my PMDD monthly sessions, I haven't opened up my 2-month monthly private PMDD partners sessions. Those are going to be opened up in August, mid-August, so August 15th. But I'm letting you know right now, if you want to get in on that, I only take 6 clients a month. That is it. Only 6 clients a month. So if private sessions are what you need, make sure that you go ahead and book those now, because as of August, like a month from now, I'm not going to be offering those because I need to put my energy towards finishing my dissertation. But August, I'm going to pick it back up. I've taken a break for not a break, but I've taken less clients. And that's very strategic, because I like to give my clients my all. But anyway, so basically we got in our arguments and we had talked in the restaurant, and he had said all these things about how he was struggling. And then the next day he asked me to go to the U-Haul, but then he didn't want to go to U-Haul. He had taken everything and he left. And this is the tools that I want to give you for this episode. And I'm going to continue this on to let you know where we are now. But if you want to know everything that happened, go to the PMDD Partners Breakup Proof Academy. Join in. There's a whole session on this where I give you play by play what happened. But again, it was like an hour and 40 minutes long. And because it was a lot that went into it. But I want to let you know that the basis of this was he left because we were going through a really traumatic situation and he didn't feel like he was getting what he needed. And so this training or this podcast is going to be on how do you avoid losing control when you're in those tough situations with your PMDD partner. And he was in a tough situation with me, and he was losing control over what things looked like in the home and what things looked like for his recovery and what he felt like he deserved. And there was just all these things. And the first tool that I want to give you is avoid reacting automatically. So you're going to get triggered by your PMDD partner. I want you to get out of that mindset that if my PMDD partner triggers me, that means he's not the right person for me or she's not the right person for me. No, your PMDD partner is going to trigger you regardless. And that probably means that they're the right person, because someone that triggers you is really in that intimate space and it's uncovering something that you need to heal from. So the first thing I want you to do is when your partner says or does something to you, avoid acting immediately or automatically. So we've all been there where the conversation goes to a ridiculous place and it wasn't supposed to go there. You weren't supposed to even be talking about that topic. And you might automatically say hurtful things. Like, that's the stupidest thing you've ever said. Or I can't believe you said that. Like, how dumb are you? Like, what are you talking about? Like, you can instinctively insult your PMDD partner when they say something that triggers you. So I want you to recognize when you're in those heat of the moments, that heat of the moment, when you're feeling the fire. I've been there. I just was there literally a week ago. And that's what I'm saying. I said a lot of things to my PMDD partner, and I had to use the tools in order to, create a space for him to forgive me. But in the heat of the moment, when I was getting triggered, when I was already stressed with so many other things, I said some mean things, and that caused him to feel justified in leaving. Because when your PMDD partner replays those things in their mind of what you said, they no longer feel guilty about leaving. They feel like they should. They're like, well, you don't want to be with me anyway. Like, that's how they feel. And so what I want, the next PMDD trauma transformational tool is, when you find yourself being triggered by your PMDD partner, I want you to be able to talk about something that is the opposite of your conflict. So for me, I would say, if you're watching this is really good. I've been watching actually Manifest on Netflix, which is one of the shows that I'm binging. But what I would say, if you're in conflict or whatever, go to your partner and go watch an episode of the show that you're watching together. I finished with Manifest, so I'm not going to give you any spoilers, but it was so good. I would say find a show, Netflix, Hulu, like, I'm not being sponsored. Any show that you can watch that involves something that you're both interested in, not just one person, but both of you. And when you get into those moments of conflict, I want you to go into that space of watching that show with your partner. Not talking about the thing that triggers you, not talking about who did what and who said what. I want you to go into that place of watching a show and being able to disconnect with your PMDD partner. Don't disconnect alone. Don't be avoidant and say, oh, I'm going to avoid you because it's time to. No, I want you to connect with your partner without having the pressure of connecting. So this is going to be helpful for the avoidant PMDD partner who feels like, I don't have enough energy to connect with you right now because of what we've gone through, and the anxious PMDD partner, because at least you can see where your partner is. You see that they're there with you, and it'll ease your anxiety and you'll be less anxious in your attachment with them. So the third PMDD trauma transformational tool is to use that activity that you're choosing to do. Now, I said watching TV. If you don't want to watch TV, I've gone on to axe throwing with my partner. I'm going to play golf with my partner. Just go do something, but let it include your partner that is separate from the conflict that you're going through. And so that third PMDD trauma transformational tool is using that activity to avoid emotionally loaded topics. So if you notice that you're in the moment of feeling good in that activity that I'm telling you to do, and then you decide to talk about, the conflict that you're having, automatically diverge the conversation, like go to something else. Do not talk about the conflict while you're in that position of doing something different, because all it's going to do is take you back to that place of anger and rage. This happened for me and my PMDD partner, where we had gone like 2 days from not talking after everything happened, after he left. And then I said, oh, I'm going to call him. And then I called and we ended up arguing about the same thing that he left for. It was because it was too fresh. Sometimes it's too fresh, it's too new for you to actually interact with and like solve. So the next thing I want you to do, the next PMDD trauma transformational tool, is to make an exit. If you are in the middle of that conversation, you feel yourself saying things and doing things that are out of character, and you're lashing out in anger, I need you to exit. And I don't mean exit mentally. I need you to physically leave the building. Okay, so if you're in a group, you can leave quietly. If it's just you can, if you're in a restaurant, go to the restroom. If you're on a phone call, tell them you're going to call them back. If you're in person in bed or interacting with, your partner, tell them that you need a moment, but then tell them when you're going to come back. So these emotions are not going to last for a long time, but if you let them go in that direction, they're going to cause a lot of damage. So maybe you just say, hey, I need a moment. Can we meet back in here in an hour or 30 minutes? it takes time for you to know how long it takes for you to pull yourself out of these situations. I know for me, I normally pull myself out of feeling horrible in my morning routine, and I need a minimum of 60 minutes. And I'll literally time it. So if I'm going into what I call the whole of restoring myself, rewiring my PMDD brain, I'll tell my partner it's 10:42. I'll be back at 11:42. Like it literally only takes me an hour. So then your partner has, an understanding of what you're going through. And the next PMDD trauma transformational tool is I want you to share brief, honest feelings about what you're going through. I'm not saying uncover every emotion that you're experiencing in the moment, but you can say things like, I'm too upset to discuss this right now, because then you're letting the person know how you're feeling without uncovering why you're feeling that way. You're not blaming them, you're not shaming them. And one of the mantras that I love to use, and I think I've said it before, and it's like, I love you too much to go through this situation and damage our relationship from my reaction. Like, I love you too much. I value this relationship too much to go there with you. So please give me time because I don't want to disrespect this relationship. I don't want to disrespect you. And I want us to be in a good place. But right now, I'm not in a good place. I'm too upset to discuss this right now. And then allow your partner the opportunity to accept that. And if they don't, and they say like, oh, we need to talk about this, we need to talk about this, then maybe it's a moment of letting them do the talking. Let your partner do the talking. Because if you say, I can't talk about this right now, but they still have plenty of things to talk about, it's going to feel really awkward for them to just go to sleep or just go on with their day with all of these things to talk about. Maybe you just listen. But if you already have proclaimed that you're not in the space to talk about things, don't try to use that opportunity to say what you have to say and defend yourself. Just listen to them. Because maybe in order for you to get the space that you need, you have to be able to listen to what it is that they're going through. And the next PMDD trauma transformational tool is to use history to your advantage with your PMDD partner. If you've gone through this same issue on a month-to-month basis, like explain that we've gotten through this. This is an issue that we need to discuss. This is a cyclic thing. Not only are we dealing with a cycle, but we're cyclically dealing with the same issue. If it's intimacy, if it's finances, if it's the way you manage conflict, if it's the household chores, whatever the issue is, it's like, wait a minute, let's look back at the history of the conflict that we're having and let's address that. Because if you take the focus off of, here we go again, we're dealing with this again, it's like, no, let's pluck up the root. And the next PMDD trauma transformational tool is the one that I really think is going to help you. And it is accepting your PMDD partner for who they are. So of all of these tools, this point might be the toughest to accomplish because you have to, in that moment, you have to realize that your PMDD partner is unique and they're entitled to their own opinion about everything, which is probably going to be different from yours. And that's the hardest part because you're trying to explain something to them, but they're not seeing it the way that you see it. But you're thinking that this is my person, this is the person that I'm supposed to be with. Why are they not seeing it this way? It is because they've gone through different life experiences that have brought them to a place of understanding what is going on. But the tool is, if you want to keep the peace with your PMDD partner, understand that it's okay to disagree. If you don't see it in the same place, if you don't see eye to eye on something, just say that's okay. Everyone can be right in their own way. Just because I see it one way and you don't see it that way doesn't mean that you're not right. It means you're right based off of your perception. I'm right based off of my perception. But when you're in that moment of going off of who's right and who's wrong, then you're in the ego. And it's very hard to satisfy the ego because the ego wants you to feel like you're better than your partner, you can do better, you have better accomplishments. And when you're in that place, you're not in that loving place, you're not in that vulnerable place. Right? So all you can do is control your reaction to everything that happens. But I want you to remember that the power to regulate your emotions when you're feeling triggered by your PMDD partner, it lies within you. If you use these tools, you can be able to cultivate an awareness that exists of, okay, my PMDD partner says or does something to trigger me, but that doesn't mean that I have to act out of character. And I remember when I learned that, that was mind-boggling for me. Here's what I want to tell you. Do not let your PMDD partner take you out of character. Do not let your PMDD partner's actions or words make you act in a way that is not who you are at your core. Don't allow that. Because when you get into that point of allowing them to unleash the ugly side of you, then you begin to think, wow, the only time the ugly side of me comes out is when I'm with you. So I'm not supposed to be with you. When you feel yourself getting to those ugly moments because of something your PMDD partner has said or done, use the tools that I'm giving you, but do not let your PMDD partner take you out of character. So when my PMDD partner left, we've done 2 sessions. They're about 90 minutes apiece with each other, just uncovering what is going on in our minds. He left. He took his stuff. I'm now downsizing and moving from a 3-bedroom home with 2 living rooms and, formal living room and a regular living room and a garage full of, all of my morning routine stuff. And I'm moving to a tiny apartment. I'm going to those people that are on like those tiny homes. Like I'm getting an apartment, but it feels like I'm having to give away everything. But all of it is connected, just like that show that we're watching on Manifest. It's all connected. I had to get to a point where I didn't banish my partner, bash my partner for leaving. He left me, genuinely left me. And I have childhood trauma. So that's really big. I have abandonment issues, but it was in a place where he thought he was doing the right thing. And sometimes your PMDD partner may do some things and they genuinely think it's the right thing. And they're not doing it to be malicious. And I believe that's the situation that my PMDD partner was in. He felt like the best thing for me to do is to just leave. And so now we're in the process of rebuilding what our new normal is going to look like because he has left. He has removed half his things. I am moving with our daughter and he can still come home, but it's going to feel differently. But that's a whole other thing we're going to have to navigate. The next time that he's going to be home for a long period of time is going to be, I think it's like December, and now we're in July. Because in the Marine Corps, you get a block of leave during the holidays. He's going to be on missions and deployments before then, hence why we're living apart. So I just told him today, because he was reverting back to, oh, you're moving to a smaller place. What is that going to look like for me? I'm like, listen, I'm going to be positive about what that looks like. I'm not going down that rabbit hole of how much, our living arrangements could look like crap. I'm not going there because it doesn't feel good to me. It puts me in a state of depression. And I am choosing to go back to that place of thinking positive that when you come home in December, we're going to figure it out. We'll be all good. But what you believe about your PMDD relationship does matter. And that's my last tool for you. If things have gone bad for you in the past and you're still in that place of believing that everything is going to go bad, nothing's going to change for you. You have to change the belief system. And sometimes it doesn't take both of you. If one of you change your belief system, if one of you decide, no, we're going to make it, then you make it. But somebody has to be that person to hold that anchor to when that person starts trailing off and getting into Negativeville, which my partner can do, and I can do it sometimes. But I told him today, I'm like, listen, I'm not doing that again because I've done it and it doesn't feel good to me and it doesn't feel good to the both of us. So I don't care if you think that it's crazy because you don't see how it's going to happen. I'm like, everything's going to work out for our good. Everything's going to work out the way it's supposed to. I don't need to know how, but I know that it's going to. And that belief can allow me to calm down and regulate my nervous system and not feel like I have to overwork. And sometimes that's the place where we're at. So I'm going to be going a lot deeper into what that looks like in the PMDD Partners Breakup Proof Academy. If you haven't joined, I don't know what you're waiting for. Go join, get that half scholarship. But the rules that I'm teaching you, the tools that I'm teaching you, my PMDD partner left me. He broke up with me, like fully broke up with me. And now we're just in the place of rebuilding. And I will keep you updated because I'm going to be very open and honest with you about what I'm going through, because I feel like someone else is going through some of these same things. So I don't want you to feel alone. But right now, for me, we're not in a good place. But I know that at some point we will be. But right now, like today, it's not it. Maybe tomorrow's not it either. But I'm in that place of really, and I encourage this for you too, accepting where you are and doing what you can for where you are in your journey. We got this.
I hope this PMDD episode helped you and your partner in your struggles within your relationship. And if this is something that you know that you need help with and you need further support, individualized support, make sure you're going to inlovewithpmdd.com and you're getting those private sessions to really work through what you're going through in your relationship, specifically in regards to PMDD. And also, I want you to leave a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts. What this does is it helps other PMDD sufferers and partners find this show that can help them get these free PMDD relationship tools. I remember what it felt like to not know that there were tools out there specifically for PMDD relationships. So I want to make sure that you are sharing these tools with others, share them on your social media, share them with people that you know that are also struggling in their PMDD relationships. Until next episode, this is Dr. Rose, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist. One more thing, I almost forgot. I now have the Fresh Start PMDD Partners Workbook. What this workbook can do is if you've had past traumatic experiences with your partner, past fights, past arguments, and they keep coming up every single month in PMDD, I created a Fresh Start Workbook so that you can deal with all of the traumatic experiences that have happened in the past in PMDD rage and all of these things so you can stop going through the same cycle again and again and again. So get that workbook. It comes with a video episode of the actual podcast that I recorded on getting a fresh start in your PMDD relationship. So you're not continuing the same cycle again and again and again. So make sure that you get that workbook. And if you need those individualized counseling sessions, you know where to go, inlovewithpmdd.com. Until next time, we got this. Love you.